Hey, what's up, guys? Your host by here. Yeah, I just wanted to make a tier list video from my experience from the game. It's a killer-based tier list, so let's get started, shall we? My first pick, most of you just know already. Nurse the best killer in the game. Power is broken. If you were good with old Nurse without add-ons, you probably just still do fine with new Nurse. So yeah, there's not much to say about Nurse, so I guess we'll move on. We'll go with Karen next. Um, at the moment there's a kind of a bug with her where you can hear where she's facing, but besides that, she's still really, especially if you put Strider on, because a lot of people like to ride and will, and unfortunately for survivors, yeah, Strider counters it, and if you have a good headset with Spirit and you're good at tracking, you will probably fine. Now, I know a lot of people might agree with this pick, but I would place Hag in the same position as Spirit. And the reason is I used to play a lot of Hag. He was like my main a good while, I would say. A very long time. And a lot of people don't know this about Hag, but she is a killer you just play different. Same as Nurse, you don't really like prep clown with chase people and break pallet a lot. She is very weird in that sense, but she has a better snowball potential as per my, because if that hack gets a basement hook, he is threatening with a 3 yen, he is threatening when survivors all are injured and they're not very organized. She can snowball very quick. For that reason alone, I put her in S tier just for that reason. Now, let's go to the 8. And I want to start off with Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is very, very. And they try to patch him in the latest patch, but you still do the M2 and M1. It's a little bit harder, but if you're experienced with him since he came out and you played him a bunch, you should probably have no problem at all. And the thing I personally don't like about changes to Pyramid Head is you can spam his ability now. Like, it's. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea for killers to spam their power constantly, indefinitely. Don't think it's a good idea. Now, let's move over to the next killer. And I would place Hunter there. This tier list is based on if you master that certain killer. So if a killer is in what tier doesn't matter. I'm just gonna assume you are master with it, and there are a lot of good hunters in the game. Yeah, I faced many as a survivor, and honestly, there's not much. You can do some, but they know the things to counter survivor fairly well, and they can land shots. Yeah, it's not much to say. She's strong. She doesn't have a lot of map pressure, but with a power like that, it's expected, right? Like, honestly, it's expected. So on to the next girl in this list, and that is Freddy. Now, when Freddy was reworked, he was probably S tier because a lot of people were running the so-called Forever Freddy build, and yeah, that made him S tier easily. Because I'm assuming you run it on some killers and not the base killer and the base power. So Forever Freddy is nerfed, but he's still very good. He has anti-looping, with his snares. He has map mobility. You can pressure a lot of survivors at once if you play him correctly. You can fake teleport, and survivors are like, is he coming? Is he not coming? He's he's strong. I would honestly. Now, for the last killer in the A tier, I'm putting Oni. And it's a shame that I don't see many Onis these days. Because honestly, I like the killer. I like to face him as a survivor. I don't play him often as when I'm playing killer, but that being said, yes, I know he only is dependent on his early game, but you could definitely do pretty well with him. His power alone is a threat to many survivors. Like when he is in his power, he has map mobility. He can one-shot survivors. You have to be extremely careful against him. It's probably safe to assume when you hear him dashing, you just get out quick. Yeah, not much to say. He is honest, very good, very reliable if you master him. Um, yeah, there's not much more to say about that. So next up, we'll go to the beat here, where I put on top Baba. Baba after his rework is very threatening. Yes, his chainsaw it doesn't have the same as Billy, where he can go to the other side of the map in a few seconds, but he challenges a a lot of pellets. Like probably safest bet to him because if he's a good Baba, he know he knows if he can get you or not. So when he starts revving the chainsaw, you must pray to God you can make it to the pallet and drop it. Otherwise, you're shitty spot. And he's very good. He's very good. And honestly, I'm quite happy that he's, in my opinion, higher than Billy in my tier list. Because I like Baba. I like Baba. When I start playing the game, I played a lot of Baba. Yeah, he's really fun. He's really fun. After Baba, I wanna go to, in my honest opinion, Ghostface. Now, like I said before, I'm assuming you run it on. I'm assuming you're good with him. Um, that's his best add-ons are his recovery power. Like he can 99 you, go after another survivor, and down him, and knows where you are, and poof, he exposes you down. There's nothing you could have done. Maybe if you got to a pallet, but most ghost faces, if they know you're in a safe spot, they won't use their power immediately to expose you. So this is assuming you master the killer, right? So next up is Hillbilly. Hillbilly has dropped quite significantly after it. And don't get me wrong, he's still good, but most of his add-ons are niche, not very reliable, and yeah, he's dropped down quite a bit. Like ever since he got quote unquote nerfed, he doesn't have uh, insta saw anymore, which kind of hurts him. And if you're were good with base Billy before, then you should have no problem playing Billy right now. He's still good. He still has map mobility, but he is fallen from grace a little bit. And there's not much to say about it. It's not like he's terrible or anything. He's still doing fine. You still do whatever. Just things are a little bit harder right now. That being said, let's move over. And I know some people are maybe questioning this, but honestly, I think Doctor is quite on par. The reason I say that is, yeah, Doctors aren't, they're not unbeatable, but his power is really good right now. You can challenge a lot of pellets, a lot of windows still, even better than old Doctor, and static blast. It helps him tear people up. If you use it well, your static blast, you can use that critical moments like, okay, I know there's a survivor here, and I don't know exactly where. It's kind of hard. Maybe it's a blendy. Bam, you find that survivor or multiple survivors. Yeah, Doctor is probably the best killer to use whispers on, in my opinion. Because you will, with whispers, you will always get value from static blast. I know it's kind of cheap, but we're assuming you run perks, and I think whispers is a must have. Even better than Discord. And yeah, there's not much to say. You can do pretty well. Now, I want to leave it here, but the next killer, I don't know where to place. Next killer is Death Singer. You could place him in B, but yeah, let's place him in B still, because we're assuming you run good perks on him. We're assuming you run the best add-ons for him, and with reload add-ons, that Slinger is a beast. With monitor and abuse, reload add-ons, save the best fast. He can hit you, pull up his rifle, shoot, get you, reel you in, and you're down. You can down very fast if you're amazing at that slinger. And I faced some dead slingers that knows shots, like spaces where you can shoot through the wall and still get the survivor. And yeah, it's quite a joy to watch. I know a lot of survivors don't like that slinger, and I can understand why. My main problem with him is his terror radius sound. It's so low. Like you have to be so on point or run spine chill. Otherwise, he can actually sneak very close to you before you realize as a survivor he's there. Which honestly it makes him better. Otherwise he would have been worse, I think. But still, nonetheless, he's pretty decent and we'll move on. Next killer is Blake. Now, Blake, in my opinion, could have been maybe B tier, but I'll place the C tier for the fact that even though her power got better, she can has one default fountain she can use. Um, a good Plague will use it critically if they're not running apples. If they do, which we assume she has a lot of pressure with her fountains. People should be careful against her. But the one problem with her is she's kind of bugged right now. You could like spit on a survivor and they're not infected. They'll do the whole animation like and still nothing. They're not infected. Or you shoot your vomit and because of the little issue with her FOV, she she's kind of bugged. That's why I put her lower for right now. But could make the argument to place her in. I just don't think enough people have mastered Plague to really put her on that tier. So I'll place a C tier. Next up is Michael. Now, for me personally, I like Michael. I like Mikey a lot, a whole lot. But my main problem with him is he is so very map dependent, and he has with the spine chill meta. It kind of becomes harder to get out of tier one, and also depending on the map, like you could find a survivor and he sees you, and he's gonna run around, and it's hard to get out of tier one, and you waste so much time out of tier one. It's unfun. It's unfun. Personally, I'm assuming you run the best add-ons on him and master him. He's on C. I would probably personally, for myself, put him in D tier, but well, I'm assuming you're a master at killer, so let's place him at C tier because he still has a insta down. He can still do terribly good with the right perks and the right circumstances, and good Mikeys know when to pop the tier 3 when it's critical, and yeah, more than enough said. Now, next up is Demo. I have seen very, very good Demogorgons, and honestly, I play them a lot myself. The reason I put them so low is survivors can hear anything Demogorgon. Like, he has so much sound to him that it's hard to really do well. Like, for example, if you travel through a portal, like if you're facing good survivors, they hear you scream, the portal scream, so they're just gonna move away from the yen for a few seconds and see if you're coming their direction. It's hard, and even though if let's say they're staying on the yen, if you come out of the portal, you're undetected. You have no terror radius. Few seconds. This sounds good on paper, but the problem is his footsteps. You can hear his footsteps. Like you can still hear him walking, and that hurts them a lot. Now, his dashing power, or his pounce rather, is actually useful. If you bring the survivor in a position that you can hit him in a loop, if you do it well, and even at check, Demo is the one of the few killers that actually release check is very, very bad to play. I think. If they're a good demo, assuming. Um, that's literally all he has going. If you're good at demo, you can get your pounds in. You can run save the best for last. Only pounds the obsession. Keep your stacks. It's useful, but I would rather they buff demo. Like make him quieter. Like survivors don't need to hear everything you do, even when you pounce you or hit somebody. You let out a big, massive scream, which so bad, so bad. That being said, we'll move on to the next killer in the C tier, and that is Legion. I know a lot of people gonna say, "Well, Legion is weak." IF Legion isn't weak. He can honestly, under the right circumstances, Legion can do really, really well. What does he has going for him? You can injure multiple survivors fast. The best add-ons, in my opinion, are, in my humble opinion, are duration for him, the Legion pins, and power recovery. Power recovery can be significant. Like, for example, like stab somebody, you see somebody in the distance, uh, you pretend to chase the survivor, you stab, you bring him towards the other survivor, bam, you have your power back. Now you stab them as well. Now they all left the man, and they're all injured. What are downsides to Legion? Survivors know what Legion does. They know. And if they're good survivors, which we count towards this tier list, they're just not gonna sit closely together at the start of the game so you can injure everybody. No, they're gonna split up. Split up. Don't work on gens together. At the end of the game, yeah, okay, there's more chances they work gens together. There's fewer gens on the map, and maybe you have like good 3 gen, and you can make something work for yourself. Legion, honestly, that's where he excels. But besides injuring people really fast, he still has to down them, and that is where he comes short because he becomes a basic M1 killer after his Feral Frenzy ended, and he still has to do the whole loop thing. He still has to go through pallets. And yeah, so I would put Legion right now. The last one in the C tier is Trapper. Trapper, if you bring a bag and a tar bottle or a bag and maybe setting speed, you can get away with a lot with Trapper. Base Trapper without add-ons is hot potato. Now, he has a few downsides, like he has to set them up. Some perks help him, like corrupt prevention can help him, all those kinds of things. But if you're a good trapper and you're running good add-ons, you shouldn't be worrying too much. Like, yeah, okay, you got your basic traps that you place, survivors know about, more of a time waster for them to disarm them. But a lot of trappers, and I've seen some really good trappers, they put traps in places like you wouldn't expect, like running away from him, and suddenly, snap, he's got you. Now he's down. Um, he has a very, very good basement game. I know this isn't the most honorable play to play Trapper, but it is a very effective play. If you can get a basement situation in a critical time, that can be a snowballing effect, which we assume he runs best add-ons. That situation can happen. If he didn't have his best add-ons, basement would become a little bit less powerful, but nonetheless still powerful. And unfortunately, we go to the on top of the D tier is our boy Great with Windstorm is actually pretty good, and you could honestly place him in C tier. The reason I put him in D tier is there's a lot of counter. Right? You could see him coming in an open map like Bloodlodge. See him running across the map. Oh, it's a raid, even though he's close. You can still see the outline of his body moving. And another counter flashlight, you can burn him and stun him for a few seconds. Flashlight's the real hindrance for the raid. And yeah, besides that, after he gets that first hit, same as Legion, but Legion does it better because he can chain those hits easier. After that first hit, let's say you sneak up on a survivor after that first hit, its power literally does nothing. That's it. You're just gonna have to chase, you're gonna have to go through pallets, you're gonna have to do all those kinds of things, and that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. There isn't much to say about it. For the next killer, it's a bit up in the air, but I would say second last is Cloud. Our chunky boy, our big belly man. I quite enjoy Clown personally. I do really, really, really enjoy playing him. But the few things is power, is reloading. Say you bring the good add-ons is faster reload and exhaustion, because exhaustion is just a useful add-on on him. You go to a loop, you throw the bottle and survivors drop the pallet, or they're just gonna move on and eventually you down him but you're out of bottles and you hook him and you have to reload, which with the reload add-on takes a little bit less, but you still nonetheless you have to reload and you have to go to the other survivor. You don't have map pressure, you can't chain hits. There's a lot of fun. And I honestly don't think you can do much to buff him, really. The one thing you probably could change about him, and even though this isn't a power changing video, you could make it so that after he hooks a survivor, his power automatically comes back. Like, whoop, you have all your 4 bottles back. And the one other thing about Clown is his sound. He has a little bit of the same problems with Demo, where survivors can just hear you do things like if you vault a window with Clown, it's like like he's about to die or something. It's horrible, really horrible. Like you can still sometimes hear other killer do an action when it regards to vaulting, but in most killers you won't notice if you don't look at him. So besides that, Clown doesn't have much going for him. Yes, there are some good clowns, but even those clown players admit like even if you throw a bottle right and it's a good bottle, survivors can drop the pallet. they can just drop the pallet and be safe. Yeah, it's there's not much you can do with this power, unfortunately. Now, next up as last killer is the pig. The pig, she is horrendously bad in my opinion, and I love her. I've been playing her for a good while. I actually love a lot of the lower, like clown, pig, demo. I like those killers, but that doesn't mean, even though they're low, doesn't mean they're bad. But the problem with pig is the RNG. The RNG. You could fast down a survivor. Let's say you hit a survivor, he goes to a pallet that's unsafe. You crouch, you sit in the pallet, you use your dash. Good. I'm assuming you run videotape, which I think is the best add-on for her. Let's say you run videotape and combat straps, and you begin dashing. You down that survivor real quick. You put a bad trap on that survivor. You hook the survivor, and you move on. You go towards the other survivor, and guess what? That survivor could come off the hook, get healed, go to the first bear trap they see, and get the bear trap on. And now you wasted one of your 4 bear traps, and literally did do nothing for you. Literally did nothing. What did they do? The timer was not active. They were not in a hurry. And yeah, it's just plain bad. And what I would like to see uh with Pig is, and this might make her broken, but I think it would make her a bit stronger. Don't, and it's tricky because you have the end game collapse. So I would say, bring the bad trap. Once it's on the head, it's active. If they're in the down status effect, not active, of course. But if they get picked up, for example, or get rescued off a hook, they should feel pressure, like the Star move. They should feel pressure, like, okay, I have to do this. I have to prioritize my objective to get this bear trap off my head before anything else, because that is the most important if I want to survive. Now, like I said, the end game collapse is kind of tricky because you could hook somebody and their timer is active, and yeah, they can't leave through the gates. Timer is active. It's tricky, but I think it would make Pig a whole lot better. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'll say peace out and see you guys. All right, take care, everybody.